Oh shit, here we go again.
Low, man. Low,
You like contracts, right? You're a contract guy.
I read contracts instead of conventional pornography, yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
What's up, everybody? It's, of course, your boy Andrew Esquire, the Legal Mindset, where we teach you to be your own judge. Hope you're doing well today. I'm, of course, having a fantastic time over here in Asia. We have a good show for you today. I'm going to be going through some Pokemon scandals. Once again, we are in day 7 of hashtag Stop the Pokemon Company. You've got the tags in the description. Kaibushiki Gaisha Pokemon, the Pokemon Company. You got the kanji there. Still tagging it on X, still tagging it in the videos to get the attention of the Japanese side. We're going to have a translation out of the campaign in a while. We're not going to stop. We're going to keep this going throughout the week. Now, I may be doing other videos this week on other topics, switching to some other topics for YouTube, but there's going to be some great meme magic coming out. I know Don Bongwater's working on a new video, which is going to be along the lines of Starship Troopers. If you haven't seen the X post, actually, I'll show that to you guys right now, about are you doing your part? Very, very, very hilarious. Good stuff coming. And the point is to keep up the meme magic and the pressure on them for a sustained period of time. And by doing that, we're going to get the attention of Japan. We're going to have them come up. But here's a little clip. Here's a little teaser of what's to come for the Pokemon Company. This is absolutely magic here.
Oh, I'm doing my part.
Got the Pikachu backpack. You got ice here. Absolutely magic stuff. It's going to be great. Do it for Super Earth. Do it for the meme magic. Do it for fun. Do it for stopping the lawfare, stopping the patent trolling. It's going to be fantastic stuff. So we're really looking forward to that. And once again, Pokemon Company. I mean, you've got a simple thing you can do. You could sue the U.S. government to stop them from using that DHS video. You could sue them, right? Go after them for misrepresentation. I mean, you could do that because at this point, we just believe that ICE and Pokemon Company are fully cooperating. It just seems like they're hand in hand right now. It's going to be great. Got to catch those illegal Muppets. Those illegal Muppets are running wild. They're running wild. But anyways, good stuff, guys. Of course, like I said, many of you, if you're not following me on X, just go over there and follow me. Give that a solid retweet. Once again, it's Stop the Pokemon Company International Campaign. This is the tag you got to use, the Japanese company, Kaibushiki Gaisha Pokemon. Retweet this, get this out there, get this circulating, get the word out. And this is how we do this from the ground up. Once again, we can make a difference. We can get some awareness on this. At the very least, we can get a comment from them. At the very least, we can get a response to this from them. I mean, at least that will get things shook up inside the company. That's what we're looking for here. Mons Lawson says, hey, Legal Mindset, hell of an Denmark. Say, cool. Hey, good to see you. Kid Loco says, let's go. Oh, hold on. Kid Loco for 2 says, let's go. Had to be long. Here we go again. That's exactly right. We're going to have a good one today, and we're also going to talk about the EA buyout. Some people asked me to comment on that. That's not in my PP today. It's the PP is all Pokemon. But the PP is a good length today. We got 17 slides. So I'll talk about that at the end. I also want to give some official comments on joining Mythic. I don't know whether or not, I think I'd give some offhand comments, but I want to clarify some things. Some people had some questions, and some of my haters are making ridiculous misrepresentations, so I want to make sure everything is very clear there. So I'll make that at the end. I may clip that part out or have Eagle, my valiant clipper, clip that part out and make that a separate video so just people know and clarify some misrepresentations that the haters are making, because, of course, it's Legal Mindset. I have many, many haters who hate that we are getting W's, that hate that we are winning. Okay, let me turn my phone off here so it's not making weird dings. Okay. My pizza is here. No, I'm joking. I actually had pizza earlier today. It was fantastic. Fantastic pizza here. All right. Yes, so let's get on with the PP. Let's whip it out. Let's get it on. So what we're talking about today is Pokemon scandals, Pokemon company scandals. Now, some of these scandals are not new. Some of these scandals have been going on for a while. Some of these scandals have been going back 5, even 6, 7, 10 years. But what they have in common is they're all related to the TCI, the Pokemon Company International, the American branch. Once again, key to this is the fact that the American branch is going wild with litigation, with DEI. And the Japanese government company, the parent company in Japan, gives them no oversight. Very similar to Niji Sanji and the VTuber companies. So what we need to do is embarrass them. We need to embarrass them in a way that causes public embarrassment under fair use. We need to make memes that are disrespectful, maybe impermissible in Japan, but okay. We need to make fun of their sacred executives and get the attention of the Japanese branch by using fair use, by using memes and very, very specific tags, right? Particularly the kanji here in Kaibushiki Gacha Pokemon. So that gets what they're doing. If we keep this up for over a week, this will definitely get their attention. And once again, what we're asking for is they settle the lawsuit amicably in a friendly way with Pow World. They decide to coexist. I just saw Pow World, doing a collaboration with another company today. Once again, Pow World can play nice with others. Why can't Pokemon? They got to cease the lawfare against the modding community, cease patent trolling, and focus on creating good games in a positive community. So yeah, the tags are in the description. So if you look at the description, it's got the tags. I can also let me go ahead and put those in the chat here for you guys. Let me go ahead and just drop those down. Let me get these out of the description here. Well, should be. Oh, hold on a second. Did these not copy over correctly? Of course, I scuffed the tags, guys. I scuffed the tags. Okay. Thank you for pointing that out. Legal mindset, not always perfect. Sometimes can be a man of the scuff. I'm a man of the people, but also a man of the scuff. All right. So I posted those now in the description, and I will post these in the chat so you guys can see those. I'll pin these so you guys can see the tags, so you can see all of those and get those tags out there so you can know what to tag on social media. So there you go. All the tags are there. We're updated. We're good. We're scuffing. By the way, I didn't get to upload them, but I do indeed have some new emojis that I'll be uploading after this. So look forward to that. Legal Mindset, always innovating on emojis. We've got a Tylenol emoji for our Tylenol Americans out there. We've got another one too as well. So we've got some good stuff coming up for the emojis. So, they're always innovating here on the Legal Mindset. All right. So let's get into what we're talking about today. So the first thing we're going to talk about, and once again, this is kind of historical, is the level of DEI at Pokemon and the fact that it's something that is continuing, even despite the problematic nature of what is going on with a lot of these corporations, a lot of these organizations. I will not be surprised if by the end of this, BLM and some other organizations get labeled as domestic terrorist organizations or, get tagged with certain investigations by the FBI. Based on some of the directions we're going, some of these things maybe don't end. But yes, indeed, Pokemon Company at one point, donated significant amount of money, about $200,000 to both $100K to the NAACP and $100K to Black Lives Matter. Once again, this post is still up. They still actively have this post up there, have not removed it. And, a lot of these people and a lot of these organizations have now been caught with fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, charity fraud, etc. And you're still going to keep up these associations despite the fact that people went out there and mentioned right here, bought mansions, bought a lot of other stuff with this money. They essentially defrauded the givers, and it's a real big problem. It's a massive problem. These people were criminally convicted. So once again, I think there's a point at which you got to distance yourself from these things, and they still have not done that. They still kept that association. In fact, they've recently doubled down by committing a minimum of $25 million. By the way, welcome to Donut Operator. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for the so many mentions. Good to see you. Good to see you here, and thank you everybody for checking in, for being here. But they're donating $25 million over the next 5 years to social equity, and I told you what this does. All this does is strip the company of value. What they do with DEI and ESG is they take these 0% loans that they get on the condition that they do DEI and ESG. That's the big thing. And we're going to talk about that with EA, because a lot of people think EA being bought by the Saudis means it's suddenly going to be based. It's not. And I'm going to tell you why not to celebrate so much. It's the same thing here with Pokemon and the Pokemon Company International, particularly the American branch. This money is just used to essentially funnel out of the company, make it less productive, make it less profitable, and throw it away at some social equity cause, often tied to the very same people that are financing these things, and it just gets flushed down the drain. And these things are absolutely divisive. They're absolutely problematic, and they create no net value for the company. And this is something that I think the Japanese branch is not aware of. I don't think they're aware of how much money is being wasted, where it's going. I don't think there's a lot of accountability. And that's what we need to bring to the attention of the Japanese company. Another massive thing is the people they are highlighting as part of their DEI initiatives. So this was a very interesting one that was brought up to me. So this individual, Des, here was highlighted by Play Pokemon. Once again, this is an official account maintained by the American branch of Pokemon. Because they quote unquote suffer with anxiety. Well, we got to make them a major character here. We got to highlight them. But it turns out this person, and I am not going to open this account. You all can do it on your own. I'm not going to open it because they have a lot of adult material, a lot of NSFW material. We'll say it that way. I mean, you can just probably guess. There's a lot. I can't believe you posted me. It's such a joy to speak to the organizers. Thank you so much. And you see the follow-up here by Busternut Video. I love that name, Busternut Video. Hey, she posts over 18 NSFW art on her page. Just a heads up, Play Pokemon, maybe not post content like that geared towards children. So the main audience of Pokemon is children, right? You really should be careful about highlighting people, focusing on people that are posting massive amounts of, let's say, questionable stuff, right? And you can probably guess that is not good on their page. You can check that out. You can look at that on your own. Once again, this is the type of people that they're highlighting. Meanwhile, if you look at what they're doing, they're booting out children. They're booting out children, and thanks for stopping by, Donut. Appreciate you, brother. They're stopping out. They're throwing children out that are not giving their preferred pronouns. So, if you recall correctly, when a teen was asked their preferred pronouns, they laughed. They kicked that person out of the tournament. They literally booted that person out of the tournament. That's what they're doing. So instead of allowing, teens to, maybe not have to give a pronoun, they want to, promote adult material to children, right? That's their preferences. That's what they choose to do. And to me, that's something that, once again, I'm not sure the Japanese brand knows about this, and I'm not sure they're aware of this. And this is something we want to raise to their attention, tag them in, so they look at the American branch and they say, what the hell are you doing over there? Why are there so many scandals? Why are so many things going wrong? Like, that's a major problem. Okay. Also, shout out to everybody on Locals. We did a Locals live stream last night. Very cool, very intimate for those that were there. If you do join, you get access to that. So I do appreciate that. I will probably try to do in the evening your time, which is the morning my time tomorrow. I'll try to sneak in a members only for you guys over here on YouTube. I'll try to sneak in one before September ends. But that'll be something to look forward for you guys here. We'll probably review the Johnny Somali documentary that's coming up and talk a little bit about the stuff going on for that case. So that's something that we probably will do tomorrow. Okay. Let me make sure I got everything here. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is the cheating scandal. Will the Japanese branch care? Yes. Yes, they will. Yes, they will. I think they will care because of the fact that we are rattling the cage, the fact that we're making press about it, the fact that we're tagging them. They're going to say, why all of a sudden are we having all of these scandals? Why? Why? That's what they want. They want no drama. They want no drama. They're going to say, why do we have drama? Think Like a Brick says, I would benefit from DEI, but it feels like a participation trophy. I'm smart, work hard enough, succeed on my own to do others. Exactly. And once again, isn't it so much better to be rewarded for the actual effort than saying, oh, you participated and you have this immutable characteristic, something you can't change about yourself, and we're going to give you a trophy for that. That's like me getting a trophy for being tall. It's like, yeah, I'm just tall. It's not something I did that's special. It's like just what it is, right? That doesn't feel like you've worked for that or earned that, right? It means so much more when you've earned that through true merit. And one other thing that's about true merit is cheating. And this is something that has been brought to my attention. Now, this is something that apparently has been going on for a long time in the Pokemon community, particularly in the competitive Pokemon community. And this is something that I didn't know about. I didn't know much details because I don't play competitive Pokemon. I'm not someone who's in that field, although I've seen a couple of videos. It's much different than playing Pokemon just for fun or just for the lulz, etc. There's a whole world about this. But what I'm going to say is cheating really destroys the environment of any sort of tournament or competition, and it's potentially illegal and can face massive penalties. So this is something that people were pushing to me or throwing things out there. And once again, these are allegations. They may or may not be true. These may or may not be factual, right? Particularly talking about Wolfie Glick. And what he was, this is one of the champions over here, and talking about some of the Pokemon he was using, talking about them potentially being hacked, like the odds of a shiny Thunderous with particular odds, particular stats being 1 in 219 trillion. Sounds very sus. In a particular Raichu, the odds being 215 or 219 million. Looking sus over there. And once again, when you get these Pokemon with massive odds against them, 1 in 219 trillion, or that have massive odds to get them that are super rare, what that looks like is, hey, there may be a situation where people are using mods, that people are using hacks, people are using other stuff, and in that case, that could create an unfair situation or unfair competition for the others. And it's been very clear by the Pokemon company that using unauthorized software or tools or hacks is not used. And if you look at the terms of use, which I went and looked at, it's very clear that use and facilitation of any third-party software, so bots, mods, hacks, scripts, to modify or automate operation within service is not allowed. It's not permitted, right? In no instance may you. So in the case that these apps or other things are used to modify or tamper with Pokemon, that's a big problem. That's a big problem. Yeah, if they've got maxed out skills, maxed out stats, things that would take forever to get. And look, I've played Pokemon. I've just tried to get through and get, good IVs. That's internal values for the Pokemon. I've done that before. And even to get good ones, much less perfect, takes a lot of resets. It can take a lot of time. Now, in the modern incarnations of Pokemon, I've been told it's much easier. There's other ways to do this. There's ways to make the probability go up. But even Wolfie Glick himself, who's at the center of this, and by no means, I don't mean to single him out, by no means there's many cheating allegations, right, within Pokemon. There's many people that have been disqualified for cheating, etc. But even he says, hey, hacking is against the rules. But then he tries to say, oh, it's not cheating because it doesn't give you an unfair advantage, which most people would disagree with, because once again, if you're having certain things like shiny Pokemon, that might be able to give you a certain time advantage because the animation moves differently. There's also other ways that can give you certain advantages in terms of, hey, being able to assemble this perfect team quickly. Yeah, that is an advantage. That is a necessary advantage. But what is the legal ramification? Well, if cheating is being allowed by certain players, and certain players are being allowed to cheat, and this is being endorsed by Pokemon, well, that could be a bad thing. That could be a really bad thing, because every state and federal government prohibits unfair and deceptive trade practices. So, to the extent that certain players are being helped, that could cause injury to other players, because in an official tournament, that undermines the fairness and integrity of the competition. There's no countervailing benefit to consumers or competition. Instead, it damages the trust in the tournament's fairness and the company's reputation. So it misleads players into thinking that the competition is legit, and it might not be legit. So what's the punishment? Civil penalties of up to $50,000 per violation, cease and desist orders, and criminal penalties. People could go to jail. There's also potential private rights of action where citizens could bring individual claims, and state or government, the FTC, could also have potential regulatory actions or sanctions against the company. But the bigger thing is, Japan doesn't know. Japan doesn't know about the extent of DEI and ESG. They don't know about things with the Pokemon Company. They don't know promoting about questionable individuals. And they certainly don't know about the extensive allegations regarding cheating. Although I will say, in doing the research on this, it does appear that in Japanese competitions, they're more strict about cheating. So a lot of foreign players that come to Japan have been disqualified because they've indeed been found cheating, using hacks, mods, tampering, etc. So this is something, all these things can be brought up to Japan. Once again, bringing up the laundry list of potential issues, even the allegations to Japan and to their notice, will put the Pokemon Company International on blast. This is something that they should say, hey, what's going on here? Your whole house seems in disorder. It seems like there's so much going on here that's problematic. You need to clean up. You need to focus. You need to have some oversight. We need to shuffle people around, get rid of people. It just needs to happen. So those are things that I want to throw out there. Festiva says, problem is making Pokemon ready for competitive is an absolute waste of time. And at worst, pay to win now because of DLC. People also gen legally legit Pokemons that do not have broken stats because time. And once again, I understand the motivation there, but that should mean, hey, you should change the rules to just allow that. Say, okay, we're just going to allow this because you don't have time. So, okay, we're going to allow you to hack. So everybody can hack now, right? So everyone just hacks perfect Pokemon, and then, okay, everyone's playing with perfect Pokemon. Just change the rules. Don't run a competition where everybody has to go around the rules or circumvent the rules. That just doesn't look good, and it's potentially illegal. Rayobi says, side scrollers take on the current president of Nintendo of America, Doug Bowser, will be stepping down at the end of the year. What are your thoughts? I've already given my thoughts. I think it's going to be problematic. I think that this individual, yes, they've been there for a while, but once again, they're tied in with a lot of questionable people. What direction are they going to take Nintendo? I have no indication it'll be better. Now, maybe it'll be more of the same. Maybe it won't change that much from the direction it's going, but it might be more of the same. And I certainly haven't heard any comment on her about Pal World, about the lawsuits, about anything else going on, which is what I would look for her. I would look for her to make statements on that because I would want her to know her take, know her stance on that. I think it's very important to know that stance, right? To say, okay, what's her take on the lawsuits? I think that's very, very, very important. Because once again, this is something that affects everybody. It affects smaller gamers. It affects other games. It affects the modding community as a whole. And Nintendo is essentially trying to nuke mods, trying to nuke smaller games, smaller developers, and say, we're just going to outspend you. And we're going to file a bunch of patents beforehand on broad genres that we really have no right to control, that really have no right to get into, right? So that's my thoughts on that. Went through a little bit quickly on that one. So I'll slow walk. I'll be very romantic with the piece about EA because I want to make sure I have time to talk about that and my thoughts on the EA buyout. I think this one is very, very interesting, but I do think a lot of people are misinterpreting it for what it is, because a lot of people think that the EA buyout is going to be something, super giga based. But that's not exactly what's going on here. Let me explain this to you. So right now, transitioning to this second topic, you can see that the gaming giant Electronic Arts has been bought out in an unprecedented $55 billion deal. So Electronic Arts, one of the biggest companies in gaming, has been bought out by Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, the PIF, Silver Lake, and Jared Kushner's Affinity Partners. So this is one of the largest leveraged buyouts in history where significant amounts is paid by borrowed money. So where did that borrowed money come from? What does it require? A lot of people are assuming that because it's the Saudis, it's all of a sudden going to be based. And I even see people in like PC Gamer over here. Here's this comment, and this is a kind of fun one, and I see people responding to this one. PC Gamer responding, former BioWare lead writer reads the runes on EA's Saudi deal and speculates that guns in football are in and gay stuff is out. And the venerable RPG studio may be for the chop, saying BioWare may be chopped. I think this is perhaps reading a little bit too far. Okay? So to be very clear about the business of the Saudi Arabia Investment Fund, they are already invested in a lot of sports. A lot of sports. If you look at the teams they own a lot of sports teams, golf teams, soccer, etc. They own a lot. So those teams have licensing agreements with EA for the sports games, which EA produces. So right now, when they sign this deal and finalize it, what will happen is they will get rid of those licensing agreements. They'll be able to essentially say, oh, we're paying ourselves, right? They no longer have to pay those massive licensing agreements. So that saves them a bunch of money. It's what's called a vertical monopoly. So Saudi Arabia, in that public investment fund, is looking for a vertical monopoly. That's what it is. They're not necessarily looking to come in and take out the quote unquote woke stuff. In fact, this is something that most people don't understand. The banks, as part of their requirements, require for certain loans that are at 0% interest, so these very low interest or no interest loans, right? They require DEI and ESG for compliance. Let me say this again. A requirement of these loans is that they have a DEI or ESG component. So EA is going to want these loans. The bought out EA is still going to want these loans. They have a bunch of leverage. They're still going to want to qualify for these things. In order to do that, they're going to need that. However, what they may do is change what they show on the face in their projects, but that DEI and ESG stuff will still go on behind the scenes. They're still going to do something behind the scenes for DEI and ESG because that's a required component, right? So it may be, you may think it's going to be quote unquote based on the front facing, and maybe there will be less public statements by staff, but on the back end, it's still going to be there, right? It's not going to be removed until these banking and financing requirements no longer require DEI and ESG for compliance. Things aren't going to change. Right? We have to look at what's going on in our regulatory side, in our banking side, et cetera, in order to move forward and to get this stuff out of a lot of the larger corporations, because you have to understand corporations, and even in this case, you can see the buyout, are financed by debt. And as long as they're heavily financed by debt and they're reliant on these very, very, very low interest loans, we're going to be stuck with DEI and ESG until those requirements are gone. So just understand that's a thing. That's a massive, massive thing. Let's read some of these here. Cold Kid said, thoughts on Saudi Arabia owning Pokemon Go. Once again, a lot of this stuff, it's about, and another factor is it's about collecting personal identifiable information. That's one of the most valuable currencies out there. So harvesting that sweet, sweet PII. So they're going to get a ton of PII on people that like sports, because they're going to be able to look at sports gamers, people that go to games, people that buy merchandise. They're going to have a lot of data on that because that's what Saudi Arabia is interested in. With Pokemon Go, they're going to have a lot of data on a lot of people, right? So that's another thing they're looking at, right? Pokemon Go has a lot of particular value to it. How effective is just not buying a Nintendo anymore? No Pokemon, no Mario. Yeah, no, I think that's very important. Somebody brought up a kooky idea to me today, and I always appreciate creative arguments. I really do. But someone said, what would happen if we reverse psychology this and we started buying Nintendo stock like it's GameStop? I said, first of all, that's not going to work because there's 1.16 billion shares of Nintendo, right? Even it's $20 a share. That's a lot more money than most common people have, and they can just throw out there to take control of Nintendo. And beyond that, as a Japanese company, there's a certain limit to foreign ownership. So there'd be a reasonable cap on what foreign buyers could even do, rather much let alone take control of the company. And there's many things people could do to stop sort of a buyout. So on the opposite end, though, I do think boycotting is effective. I do think not buying is effective. And I do think that is something that people can say, hey, look, we're just not going to buy Pokemon anymore until you cease this behavior and until you go back to creating good games. Because if you're just going to continue to copy paste, creating two versions that are now more and more and more expensive, I think that's just milking the fans. And I think that's unfair, and I think that's something that should be fought against. Fat Elmo says, is China based for looser copyright laws? What you have to understand is, while you may look at China on its face rejecting some of the DEI and ESG stuff, understand that stuff gets pushed by China in Tencent, which is backing a lot of the initiatives in the West. So while they may on their face do that, understand they're the ones that are funding a lot of these stuff. And if you look at the banking, if you look at the other funnels and what they're doing, especially also with the ID stuff, a lot of that is pushed by China. So you got to understand that these things are linked. And if you look closely enough with that, you will find those links back, right? Because they want to undermine American companies and Western companies by injecting this poison into the system, which is absolutely poisonous to those companies, right? And you can see it happen. And what they want to do is actually destroy those companies so they can buy out the component parts and they can sell out what's profitable and, make money that way. The kind of the Soros strategy, right? So, China is not the necessary savior here. I would not turn to them for salvation. Elvis, Evilus became a new member. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Think like a break. And by the way, I say that, specifically Chinese government, Chinese companies, not necessarily Chinese people. I know many wonderful Chinese people that are absolutely amazing people. And we're really referring to both the CCP and the major Chinese companies, which of course are very much government influenced and controlled. Think Like a Brick says, could the new ownership stop allowing mods? That's very possible. Yes, they could. They could stop allowing mods very much. Once again, modding is typically under control of the company that makes the game. So in this case, let's say Stardew Valley. If Stardew Valley said, the owner of the game Stardew Valley said, no more mods, that's under the control of that game owner. But if a knockoff of Stardew Valley, let's call it Moondew Valley, the knockoff, right? They said, we do allow mods. And then Stardew was like, well, we don't want you to do mods. That's kind of what Pokemon's trying to do, except for with Pal World, and in a case in which they're probably going to lose ultimately regarding their patents, particularly if their patents get challenged, right? So that's exactly why we have to stop it, because it's essentially a company trying to shut down a genre and shut down all modding in the same genre. And other companies would use that, right? Other companies would use that precedent. Jacob Novik for 100 Swedish krona says EA getting bought is certainly not good. To have Microsoft, Xbox, Sony, PlayStation, Nintendo acquire, it's only a matter of monopoly or not. But for the government, isn't it going to be geopolitical? Yeah, and that there's other factors to that. Certainly, there are geopolitical factors, but I do think that the Saudis have a genuine interest in kind of having a sports monopoly. They really like sports. They're trying to diversify their investments, get out of just oil, and go into other things. They're trying to, of course, attract wealthy tourists, wealthy expats like Dubai. They want Saudi Arabia to kind of have its own Dubai-like feel for wealthy expats. They really haven't been as successful as the UAE in that case. But they're looking at these diversifications as other ways to invest their money. So yes, that's kind of their angle there. Should we be concerned? I think we should. I think we should be concerned, especially when it's an American companies are being bought out by foreign countries. I think there is a geopolitical side to that. And one interesting thing that did happen is that Trump put a 100% tariff on all movies that are made outside the United States, right? I think that's very interesting. Now, what would be even more interesting is a 100% tariff on all games made outside the United States. I think that would be very, 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 very interesting if there was a tariff on all games made outside the United States. That would definitely be very, very interesting. We could see that happen. Patrick S. says EA is going to be worse with microtransactions. We'll see. It's possible. And Big Buddhist with a very based 5 legal mindset memberships. Thank you so much. Yes. Yeah. Well, American movies suck already, but the point is that a lot of them are not filmed and not produced in the United States. A lot of them are filmed in Ireland or Canada or other places because of subsidies, right? So understand that a lot of these movies are done abroad, right? Okay. Very interesting stuff. Yeah. So a lot of stuff to consider there. A lot of interesting stuff happened. I'm going to keep an eye on this one. And as this develops, if there's something else going on regarding the EA buyout, I will let you know and kind of bring that up. But some people wanted me to talk about it, so here I am. I talked about it. All right. Last but not least, I want to clear up before we go to the FF, right, which is essentially the Pokemon section of what I had today. Let me make sure that's set up properly. Yes, it is. Okay, I'm going to get that set up properly there. Okay, perfect. I want to talk a little bit about joining Mythic, which is something that happened recently. And a lot of people are putting out misinformation on this one. So I want to talk about this because I have a lot of haters, and a lot of haters decide to come up with ridiculous stuff. So I always have to blow them out of the water, which, I've been right about a lot of stuff. So I want to talk about this. So of course I joined the the talent agency Mythic. And this was put out on September 27th, so that's 3 days ago, which was really awesome. Big thanks to Tectone for helping me out. He actually got me in contact and let me get in contact with the leadership, the CEO, the COO. It was really awesome to meet them and to talk about them. It really, to me, is a very big pleasure. And I want to talk about my motivation. So my motivation there with Mythic is to really get help with sponsorships, branding, and some back behind the scenes support, as well as merchandise. I know you guys want merchandise, and that's something I want to have a comprehensive system. I want to have stuff set up. I want to have, everything be clean, delivery be good. And they're great at that. They have a system for that. They've got, teams for that. They've got ways to set that up. And I wanted to handle it professionally and have people that can support me on that, because largely, aside from my valiant mods like Danielle, like JP Ravenfire, who are just absolutely amazing and really come through. Thank you to the mods, and my Clipper Eagle. I'm pretty much a one-man team, right? There's people that help me out, and it's not a full-time job, it's a part-time job, but I'm a one-man team with some assistants there, side to side. Danielle does a lot of work. So we are going to be having merchandise, and it is going to be absolutely phasing. We're going to have the emotional support cabbage for those that are the Johnny Somali fans. We're also going to have a lot of other stuff out there that's going to come out there. The fedora, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Get a VTuber model already. It'll happen. So that's going to happen. The emotional support cabbage is coming very, very soon. And we're also going to have some sponsors. Now, once again, I want to make it very clear. I'm going to carefully vet anybody that I, have doing any ads or sponsorships. And I do have one coming up that's a personal friend. This is one I actually got before Mythic that I'm going to interview. And it's going to deal with a lot of stuff in the finance sector, a lot of shenanigans and other stuff like that. And some, potential help if you want to do any investing. So that's going to be one I'm going to bring up for potential sponsors. But I'm going to make sure each one I vet is good. It fits the brand. It's something that I want to talk about or something that I've used myself. And that's going to be something you're going to see going forward. But one of the things I want to point out is a lot of the haters and other people that are trying to confuse things were saying, they hired Legal Mindset as their lawyer. Mythic hired Legal Mindset as their lawyer. That is not true. That is not true. I am not working as the lawyer for Mythic, right? I don't know who said that or what said that, or it was probably some person who wasn't even thinking, right? I am not the lawyer for Mythic. That would be a conflict of interest, because somebody that is representing them, also being a client, right, would not be good. Because let's say we had a dispute between myself as a streamer and them as a company, will there be a conflict? I have to represent them as a company against myself. That doesn't work, right? It's purely as a streamer. So I am purely there as a streamer. I am not supporting them legally in any way whatsoever. So I just want to make that very, very clear. Also, welcome to the Meme Copium Raiders. Get a healthy version of Cope. Legal Mindset plushie and Docu Macro Mine soon. Soon. Very, very soon. In fact, I already know the style of the Legal Mindset plushie and the Documakara. It is going to happen. We're going to get the Docu. It's going to happen. Ryobi said, hey, you're in Rima's talent agency. VTuber debut when? It will happen as well. Once again, all good things take time. Big Buddha says, you're in Mythic now. You're in with Shy Lily. Have you thought about a gamer sub slaver? Yes, this is a joke. Don't mooch over it. No, actually, eventually we're going to go there, and it's going to piss off everybody, because anytime gamer subs is mentioned, it triggers half the internet. Right now there's people that are so triggered that I joined Mythic. It's absolutely fantastic. It's absolutely great. They try to slander me, defame me. Never works. We always win. And the best thing is that all my haters that try to hate on me for specific issues, I end up being right in the end. Right? They end up arguing me on Debt versus Herd. We're right there. Disney, I'm right there. Argue me about VTuber stuff. I'm right on all those cases, right? Argue with me about, whatever else I'm covering. Johnny Somali, I'm right there. Vitaly, I'm right there. Just, again, stacking W's against the haters. You love to see it. Fire Red Podcast says, hello, Andrew and everyone. Still here. Y'all rock. Yeah, it's going to be a shorter one today, but we're not going to be around too much longer. But it is very good to see everybody. I wanted to make sure I got one in today. Jaffa Greg for 5 says, Legal Mindset Action Toy. What does it go to? I mean, is this one that, you push a button and it says... Objection. Or... Objection. Thank you, Eagle, for the objection reaction. That one's amazing. Roken Bowl says, what, for real? Legal mindset? Docky, that's dangerous. I know. It does not come with an Ona hole. It does not come with an Ona hole. I'll tell you that right now. Captain Yanya says, so what? Legal mindset is going to be the Kimono no Mimi cat boy now? No cat boys. No cat. There's enough of those on the internet. Yuki Tono says, if the Terratives games, we could say goodbye to anime games or games like Explicit 13 as it was not made in the U.S. Would that also affect other countries and make games more expensive? Once again, I'm not saying it's a great idea. I'm not saying it's a perfect idea, but it would be something that would be interesting to see how that would shake out. Right. Once again, would studios decide that are outside the U.S. decide to have a U.S. branch to get around that? Right. Because you could get around that pretty easily by starting a U.S. branch. So that might be something that, maybe companies would consider, et cetera. Right. Or considering hiring part American production teams. There might be ways to work that out. Once again, interesting doesn't mean perfect, right? I'm not saying that's a flawless plan. There'd be a lot of problems with that would knock out certain games. It would knock out certain Japanese and Korean games, which I argue are not as bad as, for example, the games out of potentially Western Europe and games out of China, et cetera, that have other things that are looped in with them. PP flavored gamer sub. PP flavored gamer sup.
No. Wait.
We're not doing that. Fat Elmo says Cabbage Farm sweat gamer sup flavor. I know, that's a potential one out there. That is a potential one out there. And we're going to see what happens with Johnny Somali, because I have now given him this warning, and we may have some more updates on him very, very soon. But one thing, like I said, that I'm definitely doing is I'm definitely reviewing the clips or what's out there for the documentary. I'm probably doing that tomorrow on a members-only channel. That'll be for all channel members. So if you're going to do that, that'll be in the evening. I don't know the time exactly yet. It's based on mainly when I wake up tomorrow. If I wake up early, it'll be earlier in the evening. If I wake up later, it'll be later in the evening. But we'll be reviewing that tomorrow and seeing what's going on with good old Cabbage Boy. That's what we got for today. A little bit shorter one today, but I wanted to make sure I got this good information on Pokemon. Once again, keep tagging Pokemon, keep tagging Kabushika Gaishi Pokemon, keep the campaign going. Let's break Pokemon and keep being based out there. By the way, Bald Ego saying Cope and Seed gamer subs that has a berry taste to it. That could be good. On that note, do not be coping and seething. See you.
You are coping and seething. You just can't believe what you're seeing. It's you coping and seething. The truth it is all day, and now you are more than you.